Hi everyone, and welcome to the next video for the Algebra 1 2009 Math Standard of Learning. This is a Virginia-based curriculum, but you very well could use it for any Algebra 1 curriculum, so this is just a release test. I will have a link to the actual test I have here linked below. We are working on numbers 26 through 30 in this video, so here we are. This is number 26. All right, so this is a, looks like Malik can spend no more than $24 to buy pecans and cashews. He will pay $6 per pound for the pecans and $8 per pound for cashews. Which graph best represents the number of pounds of pecans and the number of pounds of cashews Malik can buy? All right, for one, we need to establish, we can go ahead and eliminate two of these graphs if you know your information about inequalities. It's an inequality and it says no more than. That means that how much he spends has to be less than or equal to $24, because he can spend $24, so it could equal $24, right? And remember the saying, and I don't know if you guys were told this or not, but what I was taught whenever I learned inequalities was Pac-Man eats the greater number. So 24 is larger than how much he can spend, so it's going to face that way. Now, with inequalities, if it looks like this, if it's a greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, your line is going to be solid. So both of these have a solid line, so we can instantly eliminate these two as options, right? Okay, so from here, I would do kind of a guessing method or a plug and chug type method. What I would do is look at my two graphs, and I would say, using the information that we know, he has to spend less than $24. Let's see which graph fits. So pick a point. Let's look at graph C. And what we're going to do is pick a random point on that graph. And when we pick that point, here's the one we're going to look at. So pecans 4, cashews 4. That's my point, right? So let's plug that in. If he let's see, he's got 6 pounds of pecans. So $6, and he's going 6 times, and he has 4 pounds, right? According to our point. I just picked a random point here, and that is $24, right? And pecans, that's what we just did. And so cashews, $8, and we're saying 4. 8 times 4, what's that, 32? He would have spent a grand total of $56. That is not going to work for us, right? Because if he spends something over here, it's going to be greater than 24, so that's not going to work. Let's check this one. So this has got to be our answer. Again, just to kind of rehash what I just did, you could very well write an equation for this. I think that's just overkill for what this problem's asking, because you can figure it out without it. Pick a point in the shaded area, okay? So we eliminated two graphs. We got it down to this one. I just chose C first because it comes before D. Pick a point within your shaded area. I could have chosen this point over here or this one over here. So any point in that shaded area, and plug it into what we know. Just to check that this one works, let's do this point right here. If we have $6, and then we're going to go up to 1 is equal to 6, and $8 to 1, that's 8. Oh, my 8 messed up. And it's 12, 13, 14. $14. That one works. That's number 26. All right, so looking at number 27. All right, point A is an element of direct variation. Vocab word there. Plot 2 points other than A that are elements of this direct variation. The coordinates of the points must be integers. So so we're looking at whole numbers here. All right, so let's take a look at what this means. Direct variation. Remember, there's a formula for this. It's y is equal to kx, right? And if we look at point A, that is, what's that? -1, -4, right? So we know x and then y, right? If we plug that in, remember, we can find what k is. And if we know what k is, then we can pick any x coordinate and find y, right? So that's what I'm going to do here. We say y is equal to kx, right? And we know y is -4, and k we do not know. And then we know x is -1. So here's what we have so far. Make sure, I don't know if you just keep it clear that that's not subtraction, that is actually multiplication. So we're going to divide by -1, divide by -1. K is equal to a +4, right? Now, at this point, you can pick any x you want. It needs to be on this table, right? Just to keep things simple, I'm just going to pick -2 because it's right next to the point that we already have. So here we are. Y is equal to 4 times and then -2, right? 4 times a -2 is a -8. So we would say 2, -8. Now, we can't go any further this way because we're going to go off the graph. Do you see that? So that wouldn't be an option. When you're taking your SOL test, you can't choose something that's not on the graph. So we need to go the other way. If we choose 4, we could choose 4. We could choose 0. So let's choose, let's keep going. Y is equal to 4 times, let's choose 0. 4 times 0, which would be 0. So y is equal 0. So if we do our little table, so remember, you've probably seen these tables before, x, y tables, right? We've done -1 and -4. We said when x is -2, y is -8. We just did this one. When x is 0, y is 0. Oh, it's 0. My paper's moving. Okay, so there's another point. We only have to choose 2 of these. I'm just going to kind of keep going for a second just to kind of give you an idea. Let's choose another point. Let's choose a +1. I've got it looking like a negative. That's a +1. And that means that'll be 4. 1, 4, right? So 1 and 4. If we choose 2, let's see what we get. Y 4 times 2, and that is 8. Now, notice we can't do anything else. Any of these other points are going to be off the table. So the only ones that we can actually use are the ones I've marked here. So we can use any of these points. Anything else, again, would be going off your grid, so you wouldn't be able to choose those. That's how I would solve this one. Okay, so that's number 27. All right, number 28 is another graph. So here we are, another graph. This is problem 28. Which graph has exactly one X-intercept and one Y-intercept? All right, well, let's take a look. X-intercept means it's going to go through the x-axis, right? And Y-intercept is going to go through the y-axis, right? So this guy here, the A, is only going to have a y-intercept, right? It's going to go through y is equal to -1. I'm sorry, y is equal to +1. There is not an x-intercept in this one because it's never going to cross that x-axis. So A is not a possibility. C only has an x-intercept, right? It's not going to intersect y. Here's our winner. We have an x-intercept at -3 and a y-intercept at 2. So here's our answer, B. Just to confirm, let's take a look at D. D is similar to C in the fact that it's only going to have an x-intercept. So Again, X-intercept is going to cross the x-axis. Y-intercept is going to cross the y-axis. All right, so here we are with number 29. There are several ways to do this problem. I personally think that using your graphing calculator is probably the easiest way. Now, what you want to use here, and I'm going to make sure you can see good. You need to put, so remember it's saying which equation best represents this data. Remember, this is an x and a y, and 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 an x and a y. What you want to do is put this data into the stat function. All right, so we're going to do the stat function. So hit stat and then edit. Right, and then hit enter. We're going to put that information into, so L1 is going to be your x's, and L2 are your y's, right? So let's do that real quick. Go back. All right, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, and then 1. Okay, now let's go up and add those y coordinates. Let's check those. All right, we're good. So that's that. Now, what do we do from here? Now, in your class, you would have learned more than likely about 2 different types of graphs. So let's hit that stat button again. And then, so we're going to do stat. And then the next one we're going to do is we're going to hit calc. So look here, we're going to go over to calc, right? Now, here is a list. So basically what this particular section of the calculator does is the points that you just put in, it will run different calculations. The 2 that you would have used in class is number 9. I'm sorry, let's see. Sorry, number 4. So you would have used a linear regression, and that's as written as 4. Or you would have used a quadratic regression, 5. You may have used exponential, the 0 one, but chances are probably not. Generally we use just these 2, the quad regression and the linear regression. So at this point with this data, we don't know which one we have. We don't know which of those types of calculations fits our data. So what we're going to do is run a calculation for both and write it down. So do linear regression, and then we're telling it that we want it to use the first and second sequence that we put in. So we're going to go down to calculate, and this is what we get. So basically it's saying, I'm moving it over here, it's in that y equals mx plus b format, and it says that a is equal so here it'll be 1, and let's round that, 1.1 x plus, and then -4.2. So if we write that, it would be 1.1x minus 4.2. We know that is C, so it can't possibly be D, right? Now, we still don't know if that's the answer. We know that's the result of one of our calculations. So let's leave that. Let's go back again, hit stat, and calc, quadratic regression. Same information, 1 and 2, hit calculate. So that's linear regression. And then the quad one, it's that y equals ax squared plus bx. That's that standard form, right? Remember that's called standard form. This is the y equals the slope intercept form. That's your standard form. So this would be y is equal to 1.1 x squared plus 4.2 x minus 4.9. All right, so can't be A. So here we are. We have these two answer choices. How do we know which is which? From here, I would say plug it in. We're going to graph it. Plug it in and graph it. When we so we're going to put this one into the graphing calculator and this one into the graphing calculator. Once we graph it, if the graph has these points, then we know our answer is accurate. If it doesn't, then it's not. One thing to consider, take a look here. When we put this into the calculator, notice that, let me zoom in just so you can really see it. Notice here that these numbers are not rounded. I rounded these because the answer choices are rounded. That will change your answers that the calculator calculates for you. If you put the rounded equation in, it's going to change just slightly that information. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. You're not going to get exact answers back because we have rounded. So you want something within the vicinity of 4.8, negative 4.8. Okay, so it's probably not going to come up exactly 4.8. All right, so let's take a look at it. Let's put, so I put that one in the calculator. 0.1. All right, and hit enter. I'm sorry, hit graph. Now, I have a little method. We can hit graph. It's just going to show us the graph. I like to use the table function, and I've already put these points in here. And let me show you how I did that. Second table. If you set your table to ask, see how I have it selected there to ask me? When I go here, I can choose what points that it gives me the x coordinate for. If it's on table set and I choose auto, watch how that changes. Second table. I get every single point, right? Every single one. Now let's do it again. Second table set, ask, second table. Now that's empty. What I can do here now is just put in the x's that we have listed. So it's -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, and 1. Now notice that the answers here are similar. Here they are. Notice that they're similar, but slightly lower, for the most part, than the ones that were actually given. And again, this could be due to rounding. We know it's one of these answers. So what you could do, if you want, remember that SOL isn't timed, so there's really not a rush unless you're just ready to rush off and be finished. Really take your time and think about what you're doing. A lot of these problems you shouldn't get wrong. You have that calculator. If you know what you're doing, you really could figure out most of these problems using your calculator, and you can confirm that they're correct. 7.6. I'm just writing down. I'll show you guys what I've done. 0.9, 0.4. Oh, I feel like I'm missing negative. Okay. Now I just wrote down those coordinates there in a table. See here, I just made an XY table so we can compare. Now let's go back, hit here, and let's put that linear regression in. And our points, we don't need to graph it. You don't necessarily need to look at the graph. If you want to, you can. Second table set. And now notice here that my x coordinates haven't changed. I have it on ask. And let's take a look at what was given back to me. So x and y, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, -8, 6, 7.5, 6.4, 5.3, 4, oh, 4, I messed this one up. Let's see. 4.2, and then negative 3.1. All right, if we compare these two table sets, which one's closer to our data? This one, these numbers aren't close. Like 8.6 is not close to 4.8, but 4.1 is. So your answer here is B. Is there another way to do this? Sure, I'm sure there probably is. But I think this is the easiest way. All right, so that's number 29. And we have one more in this video series, and that's number 30. Again, you have something like a table set. And what I would do here, okay, there's a couple of different ways. You could, notice here, most of these linear regression, keeping in mind with the previous problem that we just did. This would be a linear regression, quadratic regression, and this is also quadratic. Remember that this really means x plus 1, right? And you could FOIL that out. It's x squared plus 2x plus 1, right? So remember, if you use the FOIL method, that's what I did there. FOIL front, outer, inner, last. That's the same thing. What you could do, and I think it just depends on how much you want to write out. I would probably use exactly the same thing we just did. You don't have to. You could find the slope here by using y is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You can find the slope and see if it fits with maybe A or B. And if it doesn't, you could cross those out and move on to C or D. So that's a good place to start if you want to do that. But you have your graphing calculator. Let's use it. Let's take advantage of the fact that we actually have this tool. So I'm going to hit Stat again, Edit, and I'm going to put this information in real quick. If you go to the top here, like this, and see that's our data from the last problem, I'm just going to hit Clear. Let's see if I can... if you hit Clear and then go down, it clears it for you. Clear and then down. All right, let's put this information in. Hey, and guys, the beauty of these problems being on a video, you can pause me. So pause it, try to work the problem out on your own, and then see what I come up with. So a good way when you're practicing for an SOL is talk it out, think it out. Try the problems first, and then come back to me and say, hey, I didn't get the right answer. How did she do it? That's a nice way to try it. Then you can hear my explanation. With math, there's always several ways. Just because your brain doesn't think exactly the same way I'm doing the problem doesn't mean that you're not right. There's different approaches to everything. So sometimes it's nice to just kind of see how someone else is going to start a problem. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and put this in. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, so we have put our data in. All right, so our data's in. We can now do the same thing we did last on the previous problem. Hit Stat, Calc, and then Linear Regression. And hit Calculate. And let's see what it comes up with. It says, for the linear regression, it says y(ax plus b), and we plug it in, 3x plus 0. All right, that is not listed on our paper. So let's try that other one. Calc, Stat Calc, Quadratic Regression. Let's see what that one says. And enter. This one is remember standard form, x squared plus bx plus c. so that's going to be A is 1. There's not a B. Oh, 1 plus 1. And there we are. It's C. Do you see our problem? Notice when we look here, it says A is 1, so look at what I wrote. A is 1, so I did not write it. B is 0, so you wouldn't write anything for that term, and then C is equal to 1, and that is listed right there. So there's our answer, C, for 30. All right, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions about anything in this video, if you will leave it in the comments below. Sometimes video questions turn into other videos, so if you have a question, please ask it. If I can respond, I will respond to as many comments as I can. If I need to make another video, I may make another video. So again, thanks for watching. Please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.